You found a method.
Exactly. You've got to have that cosmology in mind already to begin with. So you're sharing that. Oh my, it's just a mess.
Yeah, and
Yeah, you got the same size distance problem.
yeah, you got the same. Thanks, Yoder. That's perfect. Yeah, you got the same size distance problem, and you think that if the moon is a sphere, it wouldn't. You couldn't cast a sphere wouldn't cast a circular shadow on a sphere. It would get distorted because the surface would be curved. Right? You're projecting
Right.
a circle onto a curved surface. It's not going to stay a circle.
Wait, why
only see
would
an
the
arc
shadow
section
get
anyway.
distorted?
Because
only an
the
arc
surface
section
of the
you
moon would
get.
be curved, right? It's a curved surface. It's not a piece of paper. I mean, if you want to say the moon's flat and it's the shadow of the Earth, that would work fine. You mean the Flat Moon Society?
I mean, I
But how
guess
are you going to work it out anyway? How are you going to work it out anyway? You only have an arc section. Unless you think that the Earth's shadow is perfectly fitting the angular size of the moon.
Yeah, and this is where the empirical evidence comes in, right? So there's observations that are made in nature that falsify the three-ball idea of an eclipse. Namely, there's eclipses that are observed. Yes, so Over the Fence is posting in the chat demonstration. So there's eclipses that observed are geometrically impossible. Namely, that the sun and the moon are both visible above the horizon, and the shadow of the moon, the quote unquote shadow of the Earth, is moving down the surface of the moon toward the horizon. But the sun is also above the horizon. So how can the object that's casting the shadow be coming down when it's under your feet? It's coming down towards you, but the Earth is under your feet. That's geometrically impossible. There's sunset eclipses that have been recorded, which is also geometrically impossible. There's all sorts of problems with it. They don't tell, like, the globe. You got to think of the globe as kind of like someone selling you a used car. They're like, freaking man, it has a great engine. Freaking the stereo's freaking awesome. They don't tell you that the brakes are going, that the clutch is gone, right? That the freaking smells like cat piss in the fucking trunk. They don't tell you all that. They're selling you the good points. They don't tell you all the things that don't work. There's a lot of things that don't work. And that's kind of what we did. We say, hey, we're not trying to convince you there's a sweat. We're just going to they say the Earth is a globe, and then they say there's certain things that are observed in nature, and we checked, and it don't check out, bro. Like, that's all we're saying. This shit don't check out.
I see. Okay.
I mean, we take it at
Yeah.
face value that it would check out if we checked. And nobody checks, right? We just assume, like Eddie Bravo used to say, Google, what's the distance to the sun? 93 million miles. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How'd they do that, right? No one ever asks how'd they do that in checks. They just take it at face value that it's true. And I mean, I understand. People are also taught that to figure this stuff out, like, you have to be some sort of freaking super genius nerd astronomer and freaking via freaking 10 by 10 blackboard and 10 boxes of chalk.
I'm not a scientist.
Oh, yeah, I'm not a scientist. Yeah.
But we hear every day. I'm not a scientist. I couldn't possibly know that.
Yeah, you can't figure it out because you're not a scientist. But then on the other hand, you're dumb for not believing it.
Yep.
How does that make sense? How can you be dumb and not, like, dumb and just like ordinary at the same time?
Yeah, and they say that too in the same breath, right? Talking outside two sides of their mouths. You're just too stupid to understand.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a scientist, so I couldn't possibly know.
Smart people automatically believe smart people.
Yeah, you got to be smart to believe smart people. Dumb people don't believe smart people because they're dumb.
But you're not as smart as the smart people. That's the other. That's the other thing.
Are those smart people smart because they believe other smart people?
Yes.
Infinite progress.
Yeah, it's human centipede.
Oh, God.
There's some psychology for your ass, cowboy.
Oh man, nice choice of words.
I mean, you want to do a psychological frickin' you want to have a you want to see some psychology, man. Chill for a fucking week in here and watch the people that come in here in the absolute absurd psychotic rage this topic brings them.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I know. I used to host. Crit knows we were on this server together, and I used to host these really large talks. Like we get like 300 people in on these like things called stages, and then these I'd have people come on like a couple at a time. We might have 6 or 7, maybe 8 people on stage at once, and I would allow like let's say we're doing flat Earth, I'd allow like 3 flat earthers on, 3 globers on, and then we'd all talk. And there's some pretty interesting discussions. I kind of get lost when the flat earthers like go down the whole the dinosaurs were placed there rabbit hole, and like the Catholics are incubating a bunch of babies and trying to like
Yeah.
and miseducate everybody, like shit like that.
I get it, dude.
Yeah,
There's
that's
some,
science
like
fiction.
what we call esoteric flat earthers. We're not in that group, bro.
I told him that earlier. I was
Yeah,
saying
we
that
were
to him.
talking about that earlier. Yeah.
That
I
shit
told him.
infuriates me. All of that.
Because I like to come to it. I'm like, okay, what do
And
we
listen,
know?
Cowboy, on interrogation, you'll find out they're not actually flat earthers. They're just
Yeah.
like, they're just fucking edgelords.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if they cared anything about information being told, they would care more about how it's investigated, how people know what they know. Like, is it something that could be substantiated, that could withstand scrutiny?
Mhm.
That's something you should be looking for if you have a talk with somebody. Be more
Yeah.
concerned with how they got to the point of a conclusion of the information they're presenting you. And if they can't do it, then what are they saying? They just have another belief
Mhm.
system? Like that's not going to work. Yeah, we're trying to get people out of the muck and mire of just believing everything, and not putting things to
Yeah.
the test. So in order to do that, we need to have some sort of foundation for them to begin their journey, not just give them another thing to believe in. Well, there's a map of the Earth on the moon, guys. Like that's stupid. Why the hell are we going to do that for?
A lot of people come into
Yeah.
flat Earth with other ideas, right? Like
I'm gonna get my
ether
phone.
or like aliens. So, like, how do I plug all this in, right? Like I'm not letting go of that stuff, as it's got to work with flat Earth now, right? To an
Yep.
extent, you got outer lands that the aliens come from instead of other planets. Right?
Yeah, we'll move the reptilians underground, guys.
Yeah, the Masonic reptilian overlords. Dude, I swear, I don't know.
Yeah, it's infuriating. I think Nathan Oakley nailed it when he calls it the feast of nonsense. If you're interested in flat Earth, there's a veritable feast of nonsense out there being perpetuated by people who call themselves flat earthers. And they might be more numerous than us here in 24/7, sadly. So
Yeah.
the general public sees all this crazy bullshit and thinks that that's what we think. So Globers come in to argue, and they're surprised to find out that we don't subscribe to any of that nonsense. And they think we're supposed to. And then they think we're being disingenuous. Like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
This is your map, and you're supposed to believe in the ice ring Antarctica and lands beyond it, and toroidal ether, and all of that. What do you mean you don't believe any of that?
Like Professor
You're
Phil.
supposed to believe that gravity's electricity.
Professor Phil, after all this time, we've been saying that that's not what we're saying. Will still come in here and repeat the very same thing he does, like the same antics he did the last time. So you guys are saying that the ice wall, and it's like, dude, we've been over this. I don't know how many times with you. We're not saying that. Like it just doesn't change.
Right. I mean, there may be some weird shit going on beyond our realm of knowledge. And that's fine if you want to speculate, but I mean, to hold yourself out as a flat earther and then these are the things that make you a flat earther is just absolutely batshit crazy to me. Yeah, Indio nailed it, man. These are edgelords. At the end of the day, you talk to them, you find out that they're either here trying to rage bait people and win online arguments, or they're here to try to be a guru and offer some really mind blowing perspective on a new cosmology. And then meanwhile, 24/7's hanging back here, and we're like, no, man, we just want to talk about what we see and what's real.
They've uncovered the secret maps that are hidden in the basement of the Vatican. So they're here to kind of like tell the world about it. They come in here with like this little angle or secret knowledge that no one else has, and like, yeah, well, you guys never thought of it. Like, that's dumb.
Have you guys ever interacted with an individual who goes by Pickle or Newt?
Yes, dude.
I want to see what you guys think about him, because he had good things to say about y'all, and I love Pickle. Like, me and him go back and forth.
Dude, they were
like used to.
Let me say this: they were touting him as the debate god. Before, when we got into this channel here in politics, everybody's like, "Dude, you need to watch out for Newt, man. He's like the best of the best. Like, that guy is top tier when it comes to debating." And we were like, I was like, "Yeah, okay." Really like to have a chat with him to see what he's like. I mean, dude, it was far from like the expectation that I had, because of the way they built him up. They built him up to be some sort of like superior, like debate king. It was not that.
Yeah, isn't that where Heretic is like, hey, our plumb line straight lines, our plumb line straight lines? Was that the guy that he was doing that with?
No, that was Great Angelo, and he's an entomologist. No, that's not him.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Like, fuck you.
But it's like,
no, Newt, I have recorded with him a conversation. He thinks that there could be a container, but it's probably like a membrane around the Earth. I have him on a recording. He thinks it's like a ferro fluid kind of thing. The way he was describing it. I don't know what he thinks about now, but that's what he was saying back then.
I know that he's very into the esoteric stuff, so that's why I asked.
Perhaps.
wait, is Newt the guy that says that he's building a large language model, and he comes in here and he's trying to get flat earthers to add to it because we're kind of like an element of chaos and random elements that he needs to make his unique?
I don't know, maybe. I've never heard him say that, but he does have like this knowledge that he feels that he's more superior than another glober that comes in here speaking. And he'll tout his knowledge in a way like that, like, oh, that you got it wrong. That's high school knowledge. Like he'll say it like that.
Yeah, but yeah, you're thinking of the right person. He was drilling a hole through the event horizon or something.
Who is this Aussie character?
Roadhouse on Twitter.
Roundhound.
Oh, was he the one that was doing the debate?
Roundhound, yeah, sorry. I got Roadhouse.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about that earlier. I was curious. I guess he was coming from like a debunking flat Earth type of view.
They all do.
So, like,
They all do.
when people try to debunk flat Earth, do any of them come from a like weather standpoint? Like,
Nope.
how does flat Earth explain the weather, cloud formations, blah blah
Nope.
blah? No,
Nope. They don't know
that
half of the most of 90% of the stuff that they say they don't know. So if they even start talking about anything, it's mostly mainstream information.
okay. So like, because usually, like, well, not usually, like, one of the main things that I understand that like globe Earth has, like, one of the best arguments for globe Earth, at least from my understanding, is like weather patterns, and explaining how, like, oh, like different storm systems can have different like pressure outcomes on part of the world, and then as the Earth spins around and as the sun heats different parts of the ocean, then like we can explain weather patterns that are going to come up based on that heating and rotation of the Earth,
Yeah, but
and blah blah
what is
blah.
what does the rotation have to do with the weather pattern? Can you correlate that for us here in the room? Like, what? How does it make sense that the Earth spinning is going to cause some sort of fluctuation in weather?
Well, depending on like the rotation and the position with Earth and the sun, there's going to be different weather patterns because the sun will be heating more intensely, like
Yeah,
different parts
but
of the ocean.
that's the explanation
Uh,
you've been given. How can you prove
mhm.
that is actual truth? It's a truth claim. Like the truth of the
um,
claim that you're thinking about. How do you know that it's true?
well, like outside of flat Earth, like I, uh, I don't believe there's, I don't believe there's a lot of things that we can know for certain, right? Like
Are you certain of
as
this thing? Are you certain of this one thing that you're saying that will solidify the point that what makes you think the Earth is a globe based on weather? Like, if you are,
um,
I'd like to hear it. I want to know how you made the connection to like weather patterns and the Earth being a globe. I want to hear it. Do you? I mean, does anybody else? I do.
well, I'm not certain, but I would say
Ah,
that it would make the most sense.
oh, that's not a good. That's not a good
Huh?
place. That's not good, bro. You can't say that. Like, you either know or you don't know. And if it's something that you don't know, intellectual honesty, I don't know.
Well, where I'm coming from is like, um, I don't think there's a lot of things that people can be certain of. It's just like, with the models that that we're told are like the most likely. Like, there's certain bits and pieces of evidence that make more or less sense, right? Like,
Based
just
on what
simply
though?
saying,
There's no standard
huh?
though. You're there's like you might think you have some sort of standard by saying, no, well that seems to check out in my mind. That works out. But you don't have something that you can put it against. Like, you don't have something to say, okay, I know that's true about the weather pattern and the Earth rotating because I have a base of understanding of how the Earth rotating would affect these things. There's nothing you're putting it against. You're just accepting some sort of explanation that gives you a confirmation bias on a worldview that you think you have right now. It's not true, is what I'm saying. Nothing that you said actually manifests that information into the physical world, except for that you believe it. That's the only thing.
Okay.
I mean, the logic is sound here, Cowboy.
Yeah. So like, I guess, like, could you expand on like what your position is with regard to like weather systems and whatnot?
Right. That has to do with pressure and temperature. And depending where the sun is, in accordance to like your geographic position, weather patterns change and or
Hmm.
fluctuate. So, and there's systems that are caused on the earth due to currents. The currents that run on the earth, like currents in the ocean, currents in the air, like the jet stream that they talk about. So there's a lot of currents that this earth operates off of and changes and fluctuates. So these weather patterns are cyclical in nature, right? They repeat,
Yeah.
and some are stronger, some are weaker. I mean, but either way, we don't need a spinning globe Earth to actually talk about weather. We can use just pressure and temperature to actually have a better cohesive understanding about what weather is and how it works.
But like, how would you then explain like seasons?
Well, like I said, the sun actually motivates a lot of the weather patterns that we have. So,
Hmm.
depending on what time of year it is for you and where you're located, the sun will be farther closer to you in your area. So, as it approaches and it moves away, there will be a fluctuation in weather that you would see, like the rainy season or the hot season or the cold season. Like just depends. So
Yeah.
its proximity to your geographic location usually dictates the fluctuating patterns in weather. I mean, that's apparent. That's what we know. So outside of the worldview that you need a spinning globe Earth, you don't need that. You just need the proximity of the sun. So you could think of it like a globe, but there's no evidence that the globe itself is actually attributing the weather pattern changes. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, except for you believing it. That's it. The only thing that you have is a belief that it does.
Some things still don't even make sense to me. Like either way, I mean, it's 11:45 p.m. for me right now, and I'm in a t-shirt and shorts. It's dark, and it's great. Like it's so moderate. It's just lovely. But 2 months ago, this time, I would have been freezing my butt off. Like that's just
Oh, is it
how
becoming
does it?
summer for you guys in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it's summer
Oh.
already, bro. It's like it's summer already this year. I mean, it's crazy, but like, how does that work? Where's the sun to give me this warmth that I'm experiencing right now? It's gone. It's not here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, regardless, I mean, you could think of it like a globe, but it doesn't affect you can't tell me how the weather is modified by the Earth being a globe and is spinning. You get me?
Hmm.
So, yeah, it works fine on the horizontal plane. I mean, unless, like I said,
So
you have some knowledge that's superior that I don't know about and you're going to tell me. But other than that, all I know is that you've been told a story that the Earth is spinning and it's a globe. And I mean, we got fluctuating weather patterns based on the sun, where it is on the tilt of the Earth and how much sunlight it's getting, that explanation. But
gotcha. So like under your model, like the sun can change its relative distance to Earth or position to Earth, rather than the other way around.
It's just what reality, just reality, man. Just what you see in reality. You can only make because those things we don't know what they are and how they function. Right? The mechanism. All we have is like correlation to our experience of those things.
Hmm. Yeah, this is true. It's true for several fields, you know. Um, I don't say what time is
well,
it?
I mean, here's a question to ask, right? Because it seems like somebody that's very knowledgeable about the Earth being a globe and that does weather, they could tell you how the Earth being a globe would affect weather, like a meteorologist. I think that's a question for one of those guys. And when you
Hmm.
ask them the question, tell them what direct information do we have that the Earth, because it's a globe and it spins, that we have fluctuating weather patterns that affects the weather. Like then they could give you a direct answer, and then you could actually build off of a case that from them studying weather, they could tell you, because it doesn't sound like it's a solid case for the Earth being a globe. as you might have thought. Because it doesn't sound that way to me. Not from what I heard, anyway.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, my knowledge only goes to like I know about the different like latitudes and longitudes. There's like these I don't know if you want to call them vortexes or like streams that are deemed as being responsible for uh like large scale weather patterns. So like there's a reason why hurricanes tend to form off the coast off of Africa and then move west until they keep moving northwest into the Caribbean and then into like, the Florida Keys or whatever. Um, there's like these explanations for that and how like the ocean warming coincides with these vortexes and then it pushes the hurricanes and several different types of weather formations. And this happens too off the coast of Japan when they get monsoons and typhoons during their hurricane season. And, I know about stuff like that. And I was in a climate change lab for a little bit as a researcher. So we got to learn about,
Oh, good.
different seasonal weather patterns and shit like that.
Now
And
tell
how
me,
those affect.
well, it's important,
Mhm.
right? But now tell me, from that study, what can you glean off of that you can really directly correlate that has to do with the Earth's rotation and or the Earth being a spherical, planet? Like, what can you say from those studies that ties directly into that?
Well, I don't know if there's too much of anything that'll tie into like the shape of Earth or rotation. I mean, we were studying how seasons affect snow melt and how that snow melt affects plant and animal life, and
Okay.
with increased supposed like increases in heat and decreases in ozone, how would that affect the plant and animal life, and
Fauna,
would it
yeah,
increase
fauna and flora.
diversity? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what I'm saying though is, in those conversations and the study, was the globe Earth being a ball spinning? Did it affect that in any way that you had to talk about it? Like it was a factor, in other words.
Um, well, I guess with assuming like the seasons and the way they work, I guess to that extent, but not really.
Right. I just want to make it make sense to you, because if it was something that you directly experienced with a study, and you're like, we needed to talk about the spin of the Earth right here, or the Earth's rotundity, like you would have mentioned that and be like very adamant about that position. Anybody would. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Anyway, um, I just wanted to elucidate that so that you can actually be like, okay, I know that I've talked about this, so here's what I know about it. And it seems like the discussion was more on the fauna and flora. It wasn't like really based on like the spin of the Earth or the Earth's rotundity.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think I vaguely remember us talking about the way that birds move, like between the hemispheres, and how with increased snow melt, it could lead to changes in their migration patterns where you're seeing them migrate much sooner and staying in places for longer. And that would then change the food webs where, birds are preying a lot more and staying longer in these areas, preying on insects and whatnot. And they're increasing their populations, and that would change to much more larger migration patterns between the hemispheres, and it could change up the food webs. Um, with the bird migration patterns, it's super interesting because like as most people are taught, like they move from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere. I think it's like every 6 or 7 months, and they do that to stay in ideal hunting conditions and weather conditions and whatnot. And I don't know. I guess like a non-globe model would be able to explain that well as simply like with the because we already talked about like the weather patterns and seasons. Like they wouldn't need to be on a globe in order to navigate.
Yeah, exactly that. But I mean, I always like to strike at the heart of the matter, right? If somebody thinks that there's some type of relationship that the Earth has, being that it's spinning and it's curving, let the person actually describe in what way they interacted with that information that corresponds to the one that they know, like studying the animal behavior, like it interacts with it, because it would make sense
Mhm.
to you, right, at some level to say it with assurance, like, yeah, I know how the spin of the Earth would affect bird migration or whatever, but it's not really being mentioned or talked about because it seems inconsequential when it comes to like that discussion. So thereby negating the fact that it did have a relevance.
Like, what do you mean?
So if bird migration had something to do because the Earth was a globe that was spinning in the vacuum of space, don't you think that would
Yeah.
have been something that you understood was a true fact that you discovered,
Um.
or at least be happy to talk about it?
Well, like, I don't know. I guess I view facts as being as a little different because it's like one of the coolest classes I took in college was called epistemology. And it's basically the study of knowledge, and it's like, what can you know for certain, right? Is like a really big question in that field. And when you dig deep into it, you kind of realize there's not a lot of things you can know for certain. There was one philosopher, um, Rene Descartes, who, and stop me if you know what I'm talking about, but he basically remarked that the only thing that he could know for sure is that he existed. Because in order for him to be able to think of these things and ask these questions to himself, he has to exist. Because he was thinking to himself, like, okay, what exactly do I know? And this was a dude who was like in the 1600s, right? He's thinking to himself, do I know that a chair is a chair? Like, what are objects? Do I know how do I know whether or not anything that I'm seeing is real? Like, there could
Yeah,
very well be an evil little demon that is fucking around. It's basically the Matrix, where, like, how do you know that you're in the
yeah,
Matrix, right?
exactly
Yeah,
that.
direct
The only
realist.
thing you can know is that
So
you exist.
yeah, direct
Um,
realism. I don't know, Yoder, were you going to say that?
Yeah, I was going to say we're direct realists. We deal with these kinds of questions every day in here and talk about epistemology, epistemics at length. Totally.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
we ridicule people who
Unfortunately.
say that they're unsure if they have hands
yeah.
because you
Some of
can
the
That are
define,
unsure if they have hands.
Oh
oh
yeah.
yeah,
yeah, or unsure if they had breakfast this morning, who don't
I
know how
mean,
they'd
I
feel if they didn't eat breakfast. We talk to people like this all the time and we make fun of them.
Yes, we do.
yeah. I mean,
Okay,
at
so there
some
was a
point,
debate. Me and AB talked to a PhD in mathematical physics. It
mhm.
devolved into epistemology, where he said, "I can't even prove I don't have hands." Meanwhile, while he's saying that, he's live streaming on TikTok, typing on his keyboard. I don't know what he's typing with because I don't know. He wasn't typing with stumps.
and his hand came across the screen at least once. So Clipcord got an image of him doing it. His hand was like went in front of his face. but
Yeah.
it's the same mindset that you would. I don't know. Do they teach this in like the collegiate level, Indio? Like, is that why
Yeah.
Cowboy
Yeah.
is? He's got like this like epistemology where
for like 100 years, at least
is it?
100.
It's like a brain worm, dude. Once it gets in your brain, like you can't get it out. You got to. I mean, unless you're able to like rationalize with it, like, okay, let me see if I know if that's even true. Thinking like that, because what it sounds like, Cowboy,
Like
you're borrowing from a logical worldview, bro, just to make sense of a incoherent worldview. You get me?
I guess so. I mean, I was gonna say, like, at least in that class, like we kind of got past the uh, even the professor brought up the example of how can you know that you have hands.
Oh God, was it him? It might have been him.
Well, no. The professor was making fun of that. And I like to respond to these dumbasses by saying, if you're really gonna say you don't even know if you have hands, like don't even try to open doors. Don't even try to wave to people. Um, because you clearly don't know if what you're doing is even like making sense, or
Yeah.
and so like he was a really cool professor because he's actually the guy who wrote the entire Stanford encyclopedia on epistemology. He's a really cool professor.
Ooh.
And he basically gave us all these different types of schools of thought for epistemology. And my favorite one was evidentialism, where they think it's only okay to believe in something if you can justify the evidence for that belief. So, um, we went into all these different schools of thought. The hands one is really stupid, and the evil demon one is stupid too, because he basically was telling us how if you do actually believe these things, you might as well be a solipsist. And no one ever gets anywhere with solipsism. There's no point in having other conversations with other people who you believe like they might not exist. And there's no point of
Nothing
doing.
is coherent. It's an incoherent worldview. But and it doesn't listen. It's because it's self-contradictory. It's inconsistent, and just to even espouse it is a performative contradiction, right? Who are you talking to? Yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking to yourself. Like if you're just a brain in the jar, dude, and you don't only are a mind.
The brain
Every
in that.
reference at your ideas, chairs, books. What is your mind acting upon? Where like the initial ideas, right? Are they self-generated? Did it come from nothing? No, they come from the external world, right?
Yep.
The fact he even knows what their chair exists, so he can wonder, is the chair just in my mind? Well, where'd you get the idea of a chair in the first place? From the external world. The idea, so here's something you probably didn't quite. So Thomas Reed refuted all these guys at the time, though it's not well taught in philosophy courses. He wrote, Inquiry into the Human Mind on the Principles of Common Sense. These people don't actually believe what they're saying, because if they did, like you said, they'd be solipsists. They wouldn't bother writing books. They wouldn't bother making arguments or philosophical arguments about, I can't know anything except my mind. They wouldn't bother doing these things if they actually believed it. They don't actually believe it. They're just doing mental masturbation.
Yeah.
It sounds cool and it's edgy. Oh, I'm edgy. What if we're all just brains in a jar? I'm so edgy.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous because there was a couple of people who would bring up
They think
these
it's deep or
solipsist
something,
points.
dude. They think it's like
Yeah,
some
and it's
deep,
just like, oh,
profound
come
fucking
on,
idea.
dude. Yeah. It's just like, this is some like low IQ shit, Like,
Hell
that's a
yeah.
new phrase that I like bringing up in the middle of like debates or like conversations. Like, this is so low IQ,
It really is.
Like,
So low.
Well, like Indio's
We run
conversation
into
with
it
the lad
because
yesterday.
yeah. I just want to say this. So we run into this brain in a jar thing all the time, because when they come in and they fail to prove the Earth is a globe, they try to blow up reality itself. If the Earth's not a globe, then we can't know anything at all, because my entire identity and worldview is anchored in the globe. So if that's not real, I don't know if anything's real. So we deal with it on a daily.
Yeah, I think Indio, you hit the nail on the head. You did say it was an existential crisis, but I layered it with the identity crisis as well because they don't know who they are anymore, and also they don't know what world they're in. So they're trying to figure all this out, and it's too much for the brain to handle all at once. So then they just go
this
to
is true.
they go to the fact that they can't even know if reality is real as an escape hatch. They're like, oh, I could if I say this, I don't have to be held accountable for knowing anything. That way, I can feel safe. It's like a, you know, you want the mind to retreat to its little safe haven where it doesn't have to feel like it's stressed out by thinking of these things.
That's a natural response, though, that they've found in psychology. Like, this happens to a lot of people who come across evidence that their religious beliefs are bullshit. Um, and, they'll either become more religious in their beliefs after dealing with the cognitive dissonance, is what it's called, or they will have to go through the cognitive dissonance and basically disavow their previously held beliefs. So
They go through the
they'll,
stages of grief. We see it all the time, dude.
yeah,
It's literally the stages of grief. They're going through the stages of grief. Their old identity. They're literally burying themselves.
yeah, it happens to people who get out of relationships. They're like, well, now how can I trust anyone? I trusted this one person and they ruined my life. And now I just, I
Oh,
just want
there's
to curl up
songs
in a
written about
ball.
it. There's songs that Michael Bolton. How can I live without you? People
Yeah.
they
Baby,
go
come
into
back.
this. I mean, we see it throughout history, right? Like, in order to cope with that, you have to find some sort of way to deal with the issue, and that's how the mind forms this other epistemology of like escapism. Well, maybe we're
Well,
just
yeah,
all in the
like,
matrix, like nothing's real.
but when you really think about the implications of, say, Christianity being entirely false, or flat Earth, like, a globe Earth being propaganda. Like, you have to think, okay, not only is it just the case that the Earth isn't a sphere, but I have been lied to by many people. Many people believe this lie. Many people have perpetuated this lie. What is the reason for them
It's not a lie
perpetuating
if they
this
believe
lie?
it.
Huh?
It's not a lie if they believe it. Lying implies intent.
Well, yeah.
If they
Once they
believe it, then
stop
they're
believing
telling the
it,
truth. They're just wrong. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. But once they stop, and then they start to think to themselves, well, like, there's all these crazy lies about the shape of the Earth, which is like a crazy concept. Like,
We
holy
don't see
shit,
them
people
at
have been
least I
lying
don't see
about the.
them as lies, dude. They're just wrong. Nobody's lying, really. To lie, you'd have to know the truth that the Earth is flat, and then start telling everybody something else. And then when you actually drill down and who would even know enough to even lie, that it's an exceedingly small amount of people. It's just more like a Western tradition, like Santa Claus. Everybody just says it.
Yeah,
Earth's the globe, and just nobody's lying. It's just they all believe it, so they're not lying. They're just all wrong. There's a bunch of people that all in an echo chamber telling each other Earth's the globe. That's all it is. Echo chamber nonsense.
well. So, what would you say, like, about the people who've, like NASA astronauts, or like people who've, like, launched rockets into space or launched satellites and whatnot to get satellite
I mean,
imagery of the world?
well, I mean, that goes, first of all those quote unquote imageries, they're computer generated nonsense. They even admit it, that they can't take a photograph of the Earth in the entirety. The only ones claimed to have taken the photograph of the Earth in the entirety is the Apollo astronauts. And in fact, they're
Hmm.
the only ones who even claim to have seen the Earth in its entirety. So that's like 27 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody else, including people that go to the International Space Station. From the International Space Station, you'd only see 3% of the Earth.
Yeah, it's
So,
pretty close to the Earth. I do know that the
yeah, so
Amazon,
they couldn't
they're
tell from
doing.
their vantage point if the Earth was a ball. And contrary to the freaking pictures they showed, they wouldn't see Earth as a ball. And in fact, astronauts are on record as saying that the Earth looks flat from the ISS. In
Well,
fact,
like
also
I
Chinese
have
space station
seen
shows a flat Earth.
I've seen live streams from the ISS that kind of make it look like a globe. Like you can see
Yeah, I
the
know, but it's
curvature.
No,
nowhere
you
near
haven't.
far enough.
You
That's the
haven't
problem.
actually.
Yeah, see, that's a problem. So no one goes, "Hey, the geometry don't work out for that to look curved like that." No one even thinks about it for a second. They just accept it. Hey, it's not close to high enough. It's 250
Everybody,
miles above an 8,000 mile diameter ball. Okay, it's barely above the surface. Go ahead, Dita.
right? No, just beside the math, right? That you're pinpointing. We've never had anyone come in here and show us this so-called live stream footage where at the bottom of the screen it didn't say offline.
Oh, you're meaning like you want to see live footage?
What no, but they show even if it's a pre-recording of what was allegedly a live stream, right? At
Hmm.
the bottom when it's showing the so-called curvy horizon, right? It says offline.
Okay.
When it's when it's not offline, it's just the nadir aspect.
Yeah, they're pointing it straight down. So I just posted in the text chat, the side chat. So this is the geometry. So if you look at the top one, this is Paul Larson. He's he runs at a planetarium. This is a scale model. This is a presentation on flat Earth, and he said from the ISS the horizon would look flat. Okay, even from that altitude, because it's not high enough. And this is a scale model he made, physical scale model. This the white circle, that would be the entire horizon from left to right. So if you were barely above the surface looking at it, it would just be a line because it's all equidistant. And the bottom one's a diagram showing the relative size. So this is in kilometers. So you have to ask, it begs the question, why does it look curved? You should see some of the stuff that's posted. You have to think about it like this. Okay, so they say you scale down just so you can think about it in a way that's on your size. If you had a ball that was 6 feet tall, right? The diameter is 6 feet, so the ball is as high as your head, assuming you're 6 feet. The ISS would only be 2.5 inches above its surface.
Yeah.
Super close. It's not even. You would not see. Now, next time you look at an ISS image or photo, go, does this look like a viewpoint of 2.5 inches above a ball 6 feet in diameter? And no, it don't. It looks like you're freaking, would be a foot away from a ball 6 feet in diameter.
I
So,
gotcha.
what I have to say about NASA and all those things, only a small fraction of people, even that work at NASA, would have any knowledge. We have a person that comes in here. His name is Josh Ingersoll. He works for Amazon. They're trying to compete with SpaceX, though. They're supposed to be sending satellites into space to have internet connectivity. It's called the Cooper. He comes in here, and I got him to admit the other day that he has no special knowledge that the Earth's a ball. Even though he works in the satellite industry and he sells
Yeah.
sells satellite technology to other companies.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean the closest I've gotten to proof like direct proof of the Earth being a sphere is like I happened to meet through like a friend, and then this guy lived in the neighborhood and they had like a family meeting. Like it was a whole bunch of like rich people in this rich retirement neighborhood out in Virginia. He worked on the NASA commission, the funding committee or whatever for the original Apollo mission.
Yeah.
And he's very old now. But I got to talk with him about all sorts of different spacecraft and theories, and
like what was the actual logistical planning? What were some of the hardest parts while planning on getting to the moon and whatnot? And I think the most interesting thing he told me was about how the planning was originally for the SR-71 Blackbird to be the a spacecraft, but the main problem was that they couldn't actually get it out of, I think, the stratosphere because of cooling issues on the engines. So they weren't going to be able to get that thing, over to the moon without losing all the coolant and, yada yada. Like I personally love the SR-71. I think it's like one of the coolest aircrafts ever made. But
Okay. So let me read something to you. The Apollo flight director Gene Kranz recounts, in the late 1960s, our simulation technology had progressed to the point where it became virtually impossible to separate the training from actual missions. The simulations became full dress rehearsals for the missions down to the smallest detail. The simulation tested out the crew's and controllers' responses in normal emergency conditions. It checked out the exact flight plan, mission rules, and procedures with the crew controllers for the use of later flight. Now, hold on. I'm going to read a very important part. The simulations were so real that no controller could discern the difference between the training and the real mission. So your old dude, he don't know anything. At best, he saw a simulation, which nobody could tell was different. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't a real rocket. There was a real rocket. But what they said to go to the moon, when Warner von Braun first wrote about it, said it would take 3 rockets the height of the Empire State Building.
Warner von Braun said it would take 3 rockets the height of the
Yeah, you wrote a book
Empire
about
State
it.
Building to get to the moon?
To get to the moon, that's right. You would need to transfer from one rocket to the other. But this is before they had rocket stages. So I've heard that used as an excuse. But there's all sorts of people that have made some widget for the Apollo program. There were 300,000 companies that made some little thing, right? Oh, we're going to make the sticker for their, we're going to make the little logo that goes on their suit. We're going to make the zipper. We're going to make, you know what I mean? The money was spread all over America. Now you have to remember, simultaneous to this, the Vietnam War was going on.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little anecdote. I know a guy. He's passed away now. He passed away like a year and a half ago. He was in Vietnam during the Apollo mission. So when they went to the moon, he was in Vietnam fighting. Okay. He said he was a radio operator. He said he used to make a phone call home, okay, to Boston, and the two-way delay was 18 seconds. And now this is called the Mars Auxiliary Radio System. Okay, so these are radio bounces. This isn't a wire. This is radio bounces. And it took that long because of all the switching. If you look at the